Hello, my friends. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I am getting my day off to a good start. It is Monday. I'm excited to share with you today and test for you as well a full complexion routine that involves the L'Oreal Infallible products. What I think is really remarkable about this range, in the drugstore, I mean, we see a lot of various long-wearing options. We think of Maybelline Super Stay, Rimmel has Lasting Finish, CoverGirl has Outlast. I could go on, but we know about these various long-wearing ranges. But then you look at L'Oreal Infallible and you can follow that range straight through the highlighter in your face routine. I believe they've got some Infallible products for like brows and eyes and stuff like that too, but just talking complexion, I think it's really impressive that you can go foundation. I believe you could get a primer. I don't have a primer, but foundation, concealer, setting powder, all over like powder foundation, bronzer, blush, highlighter, setting spray, and they're all within this long wearing line. And I think I've said in a past video, I've played with using these things all together and noticed that I do have really good staying power. I think these things are designed to work together and it makes sense that I would, but I've been wanting to do a video where I just show how that complexion does come together, okay? So starting out with just my skincare on, I've had a little breakout down here on my chin. I think I know why. I got a new makeup remover spray from Hard Candy. They have a spray. It's an oil spray that you're gonna mist on your skin and then like wipe away your makeup. And I believe some residue from that oil started causing some problems for my skin. I also had breakouts around my nose too that are healing a little bit faster, but yeah, not cool. It also prompted me to go ahead and wash tons of makeup brushes yesterday, so that was for the best. But yeah, let's get started with this look. I'm gonna begin with my Skin Ink foundation. They call this foundation / concealer. It says shake well before use. I remember using this in a video, but just not with all these partner products. But I have this in the shade Cool Rose 130, and they do say like patch it over certain parts of the face and then blend. Like they're just giving you the feeling that this is going to be really fast to set and really long wear. And I'm here to say it's not that fast to set. And it also, the staying power has not been that reliable. Now, when I wore this as part of a full Infallible look, I thought it wore well on me, but I'm using my e.l.f. Duo brush. Yep, she's clean and back in the mix. But wearing this product kind of on its own, just pairing with other random things, I haven't been quite so thrilled with my staying power on it. Like I haven't noticed, oh man, I'm getting some next level freshness and all day wear. Like I haven't really noticed that. So here it is blended in like kind of one layer, and the coverage is medium at best right now. You may have noticed I had to like dip back in the tube to add a little more, and I'm gonna build somewhat here too. But it's super duper thin. I think some people are really gonna like that element of this product, because I'm not saying it's not long wearing at all. I've just put it through some stuff, you know, some really hot conditions, and I've had some breakdown. But a lot of times we see a long wearing product and then that's also going to be the lines like fuller coverage or sometimes even thicker option, you know? And here this is very thin. It does feel super lightweight on your skin. So I've got that on all over. I built it up a little bit in the center of the face. I think the color match is definitely on point, and we can use our concealer to bump things up even more, like around the eye area, cover some blemishes and whatnot, but that is the Skin Ink all over. But I should point out, this is not L'Oreal Infallible's only foundation option, right? They've got like the actual L'Oreal Infallible foundation with the pump. I did have that at one time. It is pretty heavy duty, and I kind of like to try it again. I still see lots of people talking about that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna move on and go to the concealer, the Infallible Full Wear Concealer. This is an Ivory 330, and this is heavy duty, gang. This is definitely hanging with the Tarte Shape Tapes of the world. Very full coverage concealer. Does not provide a lot of like added hydration, so you need to be aware of that. Like I feel like I've reached for this one quite a bit lately because I do love the coverage. As you'll see, it covers really fully, but if you somehow like didn't really prep your under eyes super well that day, or maybe just some other product on your skin is drying you out a little bit, just watch out because it can look dry. Some days you might also inadvertently apply too much. Now, you may have seen I just did like a little chunk right there, and I've got more than enough to cover this whole surface area on my under eye. And I like to use that little side of the brush to spread it, and then I can easily bop over it with the larger side. This is the original brush that I did that technique with. You want to know what I made in the crock pot yesterday? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. I did, some people call this lazy lasagna. It's basically like kind of a ravioli, like a baked ravioli in the crock pot. It involves a bag of frozen ravioli and your pasta sauce. I added some mushrooms to it. You could add onion. I also went bigger than the amount said to use in the recipe. It called for a really small amount of ravioli. I'm like, I want this to get through some days in this house. So I used like, I can't remember how many ounces my bag was, but I used a full bag of like great value frozen cheese ravioli. I made a meat sauce, kind of layered it up, basically how the recipe said, but maybe did an extra layer, you know? Topped it with some mozzarella cheese. It turned out really good. See what I mean by the coverage, the brightness? This is personal preference, but I'm definitely at least a few shades up from my skin tone in this color of the concealer because I like a brightened up under eye. But that is going to be your major coverage supplement, especially if you're using skin ink. I feel like the Infallible foundation with the pump would give more coverage than this, but once you add on your concealer, it's like, okay, we're there, we're where we want to be, right? Then I'm going to take the Blurfection loose powder. This is in the pink light shade. Everybody's used to saying light pink, but they named theirs pink light. They say this is an up to 24-hour blurring, brightening, loose setting powder, and it does work really well. It's very fine. I would say that's probably the biggest difference I notice, even compared to powders I really love, like the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder in Fair or Wet n Wild's take on a soft pink powder. This one is very, very fine, and it is brightening. And I do like that it is so lightweight, so I'm putting it over this kind of heavy-duty concealer, and I feel like this pairing does work pretty well because it doesn't add a lot of weight to my look. I'm going to hit my T-zone with it too. See how it really preserved the brightness? While I was washing my brushes, I mean, there are times where TikTok's fun to watch, but then I also have my times where I love to turn on a long YouTube video. And I was listening to Patty. Now, she's 82 years old here on YouTube, and she's crushing it. She's doing an awesome job. I feel like she's just really captured people here on YouTube, and I've known her through this platform for a long time, and she's just a super nice person. She's been very supportive of my channel, and she was doing a full face of e.l.f. and, you know, did an awesome job, and she's just fun to listen to. I'm taking this Morphe brush, but I'll link to her channel below in my info section so you can find her, because I think if you haven't found her yet, I think you'll definitely enjoy her. There's that. We just kind of took that lightweight powder, and, you know, when I do this step, I'm kind of stretching it sometimes. It's been targeted to one area, but kind of move it around slightly. Now, here's a product I've really, over the years, used a lot of. It's the Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation in a Powder, or I just probably call it powder foundation. I have the shade 130 True Beige. Yes, I have hit pan on this. This is one of those things that's kind of in my rotation at this stage of the game where I have set with some loose powder, but I would like the rest of my face to be a little bit set too. Now I'll say, to touch my skin after that skin ink has just kind of been sitting there over most of my face, I'm not terribly tacky, but I would take a little setting powder all over. And this is that step where I might use this. A lot of times I use the Superstay Hybrid Powder Foundation. I feel like that one's just a little softer than this, but this one's still pretty pigmented, you know? Giant full moon out tonight. I think the cats have been thrown by it. I say tonight. It's early morning. It's 5:26 in the morning. But anyway, as I was saying, there is a good texture to this one too, and it could totally be used as intended, as powder foundation. If I were going to do that, I'd start with all my skincare on, and then I'd do my concealer first over those certain areas where I need it, and then I would, you know, pat this in all over the rest of the face. Now, because I'm using it really lightly, I'm not going to reach for my most dense pack it on kind of brush. I mean, I'm talking, I get a small amount on a brush, and then I pat it around, do kind of a light pressing motion over the rest of my skin. This is just a little Sephora angled brush, the 93. It doesn't matter what you use. Just any kind of mid-sized, not too dense brush that's not going to pack it on too thick because we already have a foundation on. We're just using this as evening out the texture of the skin, making it all feel uniform, and really setting us up at this point to have great staying power all day. And you know what I have been doing? If I know that, let's say, it's going to be a really long day, or I'm going to end that day sitting out in the sun watching a soccer game, we still are really dealing with some hot temperatures where I live. Hopefully that changes soon because it is October, for crying out loud. But if I know I'm in for some sweat, I'm going to choose powders in the bronzer and blush department over creams because I really do think you're setting yourself up for a little bit better wear if you foresee oils, sweat, and all that. So that's where these other Infallible products come in. They've got the Infallible Fresh Wear Bronzer, which I own in the shade medium. And it's one of those things where L'Oreal's going to charge you a little more for these items, okay? And you don't have to spend that. Like once you've established this full phase of really long wearing products, it's not like the bronzer is going to be the thing that makes or breaks the staying power. Like I just said, maybe you want to go powder with it, but you could go with Rimmel Natural Bronzer. You could snag something good from LA Colors. I don't think this is the make it or break it step, but what you do have here is a nicely pigmented powder that I do think does a decent job of adhering to your skin. And you know, when it's part of this whole Infallible regime, it's gonna hang in there. So I'm taking, this is the Morphe Powder Bronzer Brush M241, and I am just getting that around my hairline. Speaking of hair, I colored my hair over the weekend. You probably can't tell too much. Like I'm waiting the full 48 hours before I wash it again. I use Clairol Natural Instincts. That's the only kind of hair color I've ever used in my hair. I use the shade, I think it's just 4, and it's called dark brown. So it pretty much is my natural hair color, but feels a little darker. I did that on Saturday night, so I'm waiting the full 48 hours and washing it tonight. So it's a little oily now. That's why it's definitely staying pulled back today. But yeah, I was noticing a few too many stark white hairs that I wanted to pull out. And I'm like, you gotta stop pulling out your hairs, girl. You need to keep some of those. And I just decided I'd go for it. In the past, I'd use that just to build some more texture in my very fine hair. It's a semi-permanent hair color. You know, it's gonna fade after so many washes. But yeah, for as dark as my hair is, some of those white hairs really pop. And I was kind of not loving it. Now, if you want to keep those, more power to you. But I wanted to stay with my dark color, so that's what I did. And it was Saturday night. Belle and Eve were at a birthday party. I thought, let's just do it. You know, I could call Mom over and be like, Mom, help. But I think with the length of my hair, it was not that hard to do myself. I had Bub like check me over and make sure I didn't get any splotches on my skin. Okay, I'm blended in there. I'm softly contoured. I went on autopilot, to be honest, but yes, we use the L'Oreal Infallible bronzer. I do really like the L'Oreal Infallible blushes. I think these are very good. If you don't want to spend, you know, the 10, 11 bucks that they charge for these, I do think you could look into Rimmel Maxi blushes. You could look into e.l.f. primer infused blushes. Those should save you a few bucks. I'm just trying to think of those like more highly pigmented drugstore blushes that are out there, but these are good too, you know, and again, they're falling in line with this whole look. They're going to be a powder texture that's pigmented, number one, and number two, I feel the formula does cling on and adhere well to the skin. And I'm holding up my two favorite shades. They're Confident Pink, so that's that pretty bright one there. I've used a lot of Confident Pink, and I've used a lot of Daring Rosewood. More earthy, really pretty. Like, I'm going to use that. I feel like it's sometimes a little more questionable to people, what would this look like? But it's earthy, and it gives me kind of a dusty rose and can be bold. See, I'm just gently tapping into these products and look at the result. One little roll of the brush, you know? See, look at that. It kind of like, this shade meshes in with my contour almost, just a little bit. You know why I like this? I think it reminds me of Benefit Terra. Somewhat, that kind of a shade. And when I think of Terra, I think of Gone with the Wind. And all of these are packaged, by the way, with a little bottom thing with a mirror. I believe the Infallible Powder Foundation is giving you a sponge. Yep, there is a little sponge down there. There's that beautiful Daring Rosewood blush. I love it. I went a little less apple of the cheek with that application, but still kind of letting some fade in, whatever's left on the brush. We're getting into our last infallible step, which is the highlighter. And I really am beginning to question, like, is this going to contribute to the staying power of the look? To me, the formula of this, it feels nicely pigmented, but it doesn't really feel much different from any other powder texture highlighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's soft, it's nice. The shade is Icy Gold. It looks straight up pearl here, but it does have kind of a golden shift, if you can pick up on that. But yeah, we're definitely to the point with this routine where it's like, this is not a make it or break it staying power product, but we're gonna use it because it says infallible. Getting my Real Techniques setting brush there. And again, sticking with powder textures all the way, there's really something to that. Another strategy is to layer a cream and then put your powder on top for added staying power. That can be effective, but sometimes, like I said, if you're somewhat expecting a bit of a breakdown in your makeup, I almost want to go in with fewer layers and just stick with the powder in hopes that that can last a little better. I'm not going crazy with the highlighter, but after a lot of matte products, yes, we are getting some glow. I can put a little on the Cupid's bow here. That's when I really see the gold out of it, actually. But it's pretty. It's good. Bisky, my friend, you are not going to want to get caught in this. This is my second can of the L'Oreal Infallible 3-Second Setting Mist. And here is a product that truly makes a difference. If the staying power is really important to you for your look, get this involved. Now, I don't love that it smells like hairspray and feels like hairspray. However, it does work well. And if you have a really important occasion where it's important for the makeup to just stay exactly how you started, this is going to be your friend, okay? And you're literally going to count to 3 and just mist it kind of circular around your face. You can tell just with what it does to your eyebrows that like it's really locking in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this gal, you're going to shake it up. She knows. You're a smart girl, aren't you? She's now down over here. Ready? I count to a quick 3, but I just kind of go outer, inner, inner. And it's not that this product makes you dewy. Okay, there are some setting sprays that are all about you mist them on and now you got a glow. But no, not about providing glow, not really about providing a look of any kind. But this is truly a seal the deal kind of product on this stuff or really anything you got. I'm going to go ahead and finish my look and I will join you and show you how it all ends up. But that's it for face stuff. Okay friends, here's my finished look now. What I added was brows, my eyes, and lips. So for brows, I used my Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil in 4 and the little Precisely My Brow wax that goes with that. I actually ran out of my Morphe Nano pencil over the weekend, completely finished it. On my eyes, I'm continuing to play with and test out my Natasha Denona palette here. I got into some of these rich colors. Really pretty, just toasty look. And I used this shade in my outer corner. That's where the most darkness is coming from. I got into R3, R1. Those are what's kind of shearing out and hazing out from the eye, and this shade, and I believe I used this shade. These two are going inward, fading inward on the lids. And then for my lips, I'm using Revlon Color Stay Lip Liner in Wine, and I topped it with this Java Chip gloss, or it's called the Glow Reviver Melting Lip Balm. As we know, if you watch the video all about these, I got that on top and it kind of like took the liner down a notch, and I really am enjoying that combo. But yeah, thank you all so much for taking time to watch today, and I will continue to check in as the day rolls on. Bye guys, love you. About 3.5 hours of wear. I feel a little shinier than I thought I'd be actually. I probably set my skin just very, very lightly. Everything's still there. It just looks a bit more lived in than expected. The under eyes look fine. Everything looks good. It's just maybe a little more glow across my cheeks and forehead. And my lip is totally gone because I just did a lip try on for TikTok. Hey friends, so we're checking in on the look. It's become kind of a cloudy day outside, but we're checking in now after 6 hours of wear. And somehow I feel like I don't look even quite as dewy as I did before, and I don't feel dewy either. Maybe, I don't know, something just kind of regulated with my face. It's like everything's sort of settled in to a place where I feel really good about the way it looks. I really wouldn't change a thing. My under eye, maybe on this side especially, like for whatever reason, looks a little bit dry. There are a lot of concealers out there that wouldn't dry you out too much, but this one is a little bit more on the dry side. But honestly, just looking at the complexion, everything looks really good. I can still see my bronzer, my blush, my highlight. Feeling good about this, L'Oreal. We've just gotten back from school and it's kind of a gloomy day, so there's not tons of light coming through the window right now, but around 3 p.m., just a little after, and I do feel like things are still hanging in there really well. Got Biddy here. I might be just a teensy bit dewy, but it seems like things have kind of normalized a little bit since like my first check-in that I had, and things are going good. Alrighty friends, we've now hit 12 hours of wear. I have had to blow my nose a couple of times. I have been going downhill fast this afternoon with feeling like I'm catching what Belle has and what she was feeling not so good with yesterday. And I still feel like the makeup as a whole is holding on pretty well, but like I was upstairs earlier and I could tell looking up close at my nose, like just, you know, the remnants of a little blemish there. I could see that some things had rubbed off a little bit. Hey, thanks for the cold. But all in all, really good staying power today. So I would say I didn't put it through like terrible heat and humidity, but there was some rain and I was out in some sprinkles a couple times. So still did pretty good. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. Bye.